So the weather, not the only thing that's cold around Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania these days. The Pitt Panthers also continue to freeze up as the Panthers lose for the third straight game. And they don't just lose. The Pitt Panthers get embarrassed, slapped around by the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, whatever phrase or word you want to use. It wasn't good for Pitt, losing 84-58. Pitt falling now to 8-5, which overall record-wise might seem okay, but not feeling that great in totality of the recent weeks for the Pitt program. Mike Asti joined alongside by none other than our usual Alan Saunders of Pittsburgh Sports Now. Alan actually traveling from the Senior Bowl back to these frigid temperatures of Pittsburgh. And Alan, if you can warm up the temperatures, which I don't think are going to happen because we're going to get some snow. Hopefully you can keep having safe travels. You're a little bit late for helping to heat up the Pitt Panthers, who end up losing to Notre Dame. Champagnie 19-11, 8 for 12, 8 for 20 though, so even colder than his normal standards, and not much else from the co-stars. We talked on the Duke postgame show that being a statement win, and despite not getting as much as you normally would figure from Xavier Johnson and company, Champagnie just such a dominating force. They were able to get the big victory, and what that could mean to the team and how that win could maybe get them ranked and at least get them at minimum into the tournament, and the great year that they were having above expectations. Since then, they've not been able to win, and you can maybe give them a 1-point loss to Wake Forest when a team gets red hot. You maybe could give them a loss to North Carolina with an uber-talented Tar Heels team, despite them underachieving this year. But this game, I don't see where there are any excuses, as the Panthers, again, 84-58. It's a score that's unbelievable. If you didn't actually watch the game, what do you make of this, and where does this program go from here? Because it seems like a lot needs fixed right now, and they have a very, very tough road ahead of them with 3 ranked teams coming up on the schedule.
Yeah, I think you really hit it, perfectly. Like this, games like this can happen in the course of a season, and that can be okay. But they can't happen here now for this team, right? Like this game can't happen when they've just lost 2 in a row, and this is the only winnable game they have on the horizon, right?
We called it almost a must-win because of that.
It was almost a must-win game, and not only didn't they win, they got obliterated. Right. I mean, it wasn't even close. It was the worst game of the season.
Right.
And then, like, when you take that loss, and now you make it the 3rd loss in a row, and you look at what happened to this team down the stretch in each of the last 2 seasons, where they really flatly fell apart.
Right.
And you look at just what happened on the floor. Xavier Johnson, taking an undisciplined foul, fouling out of the game with 12 minutes left or something like that.
Yeah, we were going to get there. Yeah.
This could portend bad things for the Pitt Panthers. Look, if they lose the next 3 games, then they should be expected to lose the next 3 games. They will be underdogs in each of the next 3 games. You're staring at a 6-game losing streak. You're staring at probably needing a late rally to come up with a winning record in league play. And now you're way outside of the tournament picture. And it happens that fast. And look, Pitt can win those games. They're a talented team. They beat Duke. They beat Florida State last year. I think a better team than they were last year. They can beat Virginia Tech. They can beat Louisville. But they can't play like this and beat anybody. And so I think they've got some soul searching to do here, and this is a concerning trend when it comes to what happens with this team emotionally. I don't think it doesn't feel like it's X's and O's. It doesn't. They're doing all the same stuff. They didn't have a very good night shooting today,
right?
And they didn't defend particularly well. But it just didn't feel like they were ever into the game to me, and that is unexcusable when you're in a must-win situation or a near must-win situation.
Alan Saunders, Mike Asti, and if you haven't figured it out yet, this is the Pitt edition of Pittsburgh Postgame here on Pittsburgh Sports Live. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, bottom of the video. It'll help us get our notifications to you, and you will be notified whenever we go live, whenever we put anything here on Pittsburgh Sports Live and throughout our family of networks here in the Pittsburgh Sports Now family. And Pitt, the flagship team, not looking good, as Alan kind of articulated. Pitt losing 84-58 on the night. So Pitt more frigid than the weather here in Pittsburgh. 8-5 on the year. And that schedule coming up, I think, is really, really the problem. That's why we talked about this being a must-win game, and you mentioned it. Pitt looked lethargic. Yeah, Champagnie dominated early on. I mean, he had 4 points before you could blink an eye in the first 30 seconds of this game, but not much else around him. And once Notre Dame started pulling away and he wasn't getting enough help around him, and once he started missing some shots, then it seemed to be doomsday for the Pitt Panthers. I'll ask you now, and we kind of asked this a few days ago, and it wasn't as big of a deal then because you could kind of, again, you can chalk up North Carolina being really talented, maybe being a mismatch size-wise, that does Pitt need more from the supporting cast? People had been expressing this as a big three of sorts, half jokingly and half being serious in addition to Champagnie. And now it's really him by himself based on this production. Xavier Johnson fouling out late. That does not help things. Hunter hitting from threes occasionally, but not giving you enough around him. And defensively, there are certainly weaknesses on this Pitt team, or at least have been exposed recently. So are there some tweaks or something Capel needs to do here? I don't know if he can, but does something need to happen schematically with this lineup, with this team, with these minutes to change something? Because there's just not enough help around Pitt star. And if help does not come, you're looking at 6 straight losses, 3 of those to non-ranked teams, and Pitt's season is going to go right down the drain after there was a legit argument they should have been in the top 25 less than a week ago.
Yeah, it's not a very deep team. Like there's just there's nobody better to go to. Like I can't have a hard time imagining, like you saw, like Xavier Johnson goes down, they get worse. We've talked about all season about how Kareem Koulibaly needs to stay on the floor because when he's not in the game, they get worse. Jeff Capel empties the bench at the end of this game and things get worse. Like if there's not better to be had, the only way the team gets better is if Xavier Johnson and Adi Toney and play better. I hate to put it on those two guys, but it's got to be those two guys. And look, Justin Champagnie scored 19 points, not 11 rebounds. So this might sound stupid, but I don't think he played a very good game.
No, I don't. It was his worst game in about a month or so. 8 for 20. It was not a great day for him. He's been very efficient, but this was not an efficient game.
Right. And so I don't think that helped. But like, look, Johnson and Toney have to score more. They have to. Toney was 0 for 5 from 3. Johnson, again, no free throws. He's not getting to the foul line. Right. That is his bread and butter. That is how he scores. That just can't happen. Those guys have to play better. And look, you look down the rest of the lineup and you're like, okay, Ithiel Horton, 3 of 6 from 3. You're going to take that every time, right? 9 points, 3 of 6 from 3 from your 2 guard. No, I picked up a couple rebounds. Great. Kareem Koulibaly, 3 of 6. You probably like your forward, have a little better shooting percentage. 5 rebounds. That's fine. Champagnie, not his best game, but you're never going to complain about 19 points, 11 rebounds. There's nobody else to get the team from where it was in this game to where it needs to be to win this game besides Johnson and Toney. It has to be those 2 guys, and those are supposed to be the leaders of this team. Those are supposed to be the guys that are dragging everybody else to victory, and instead it feels like they're the guys that are holding them back right now.
Yeah, and Toney, 3 for 11, only 8 points. Johnson, 2 for 6, 5 points. And, of course, the foul trouble at the end. Neither one of them getting in double digits. In fact, nobody for Pitt gets into double digits, with Horton's 9 being the closest to Champagnie's 19. And, again, 19 and 11. double-double, not a bad night, hard to complain. You can't put the game on him, but Champagnie did appear to be a player who is a bit tired, who is a bit exhausted, who feels the weight of the Pitt world on his shoulders and feel like he has to do too much. And we're a week removed from a 30-plus triple-double. You can't expect that every single night, but he is progressively giving you less production. Again, you can't ask him to do too much more than he's providing, but there does need to be more help around him. No team is going to win with one star at this level, even with a weaker year than normal for the ACC. A lot of talent around this conference still. Pitt victims to Wake Forest, victims to North Carolina, and then now victims to Notre Dame, a Notre Dame team that had their best game in a long time, because this Notre Dame team looked like they were sluggish and looked like they've been underachieving and playing poorly earlier in the season. They are now only 6-9 on the year. So this is not a quality Fighting Irish team either. Pitt now 8-5. I guess I'll have to ask this then, because there is nothing else really to do with this Pitt team. And this is not on Capel either. He's built this program up. Most people believe in him for the future. So then this kind of points in this direction. That was Pitt maybe playing better than they really are, because Champagnie was giving you, instead of 19-11, he was giving you 30-18, or giving you 20-20 earlier in the year, and giving you those powerful numbers that could carry a team from mediocrity to winning games they shouldn't otherwise win. Were they playing better than they really are earlier in the year, and they're just simply not a tournament team this year, and that's now being proven by how the overall team is playing?
No, I think they're playing worse than they really are right now. Xavier Johnson's a junior. He's been in the ACC for 3 years. He averages 13.6 points per game.
Yeah.
He scored 2. Like that. Okay, like that's it. Like they weren't better. They weren't playing over. He's 13.6 in his career, and he averaged 13.8 coming into this game today, this season. He has been pretty much who he's been. And tonight he was not very good at all. And I think if I looked up on these Tony's numbers, you'd probably see the same thing. So no, I don't think it was unrealistic to expect those guys to continue to do what they've done their entire careers when they're juniors. Like that, it's reasonable to expect them to continue to do what they've done. What they have done is regress and gotten worse. And I think that's troubling. Like, it's hard to say, look, I said yesterday that I felt like the Pitt basketball team might be the only team in the city that you could very firmly say
I saw that
on an upward trajectory.
Right.
And like game like tonight makes it honestly tough to say that they're on an upward trajectory, especially if Justin Champagnie ends up in the NBA this year, right? Like, which is a very real possibility when you're averaging 20 points a game in league play.
that's incredible. Yeah.
And so like, I don't know. These are Jeff Capel's guys, right? When he got here, the 3 guys he recruited, Tony, Johnson, Trey McGowan's. McGowan's transferred out. These are the 2 guys that are left. They've got to be the ones to turn this team around. They came here to be the ones to turn the team around in a macro sense. They've got to be the ones to turn the team around this year. Right now, like, if they want to prove that this team is on an upward trajectory, they got to go win one of these 3 games, at least, against a team that is better than them. Bar none better than them. And look, Duke was better than them too, and they beat Duke, so they can beat a team that's better than them. But now they have to do it. Now they've put themselves into a corner where they must beat a team that is clearly better than they are if they're going to have a successful season.
Alan Saunders, Mike Asti here, the Pitt edition of Pittsburgh Postgame on Pittsburgh Sports Live. The Panthers losing 84-58. And again, if you didn't watch it, I am not lying. That was the score. Yes, it's that incredible, and it was that bad for the Pitt Panthers here on the night. Pitt now 8-5 on the year, and Alan alluded to it. Pitt has a tough road coming up with a schedule that will read 20th-ranked Virginia Tech, 16th-ranked Florida State, and 25th-ranked Louisville. So, Alan, you're talking about Pitt having to get at least one of those games remaining, and that is putting it lightly. Pitt cannot lose 6 in a row, and even though those teams are ranked, eventually you got to start winning. It's going to pop that bubble and then some. Out of those games coming up, which game appears to be maybe the best matchup for Pitt? What do you think about this Virginia Tech matchup on Wednesday and getting off the snide against the Hokies? And realistically, is there a chance to save this season for Pitt if they don't win at least one of those 3? North Carolina State, Clemson, Virginia obviously is a tough matchup, but the rest of the schedule after those 3 is against all non-ranked teams except for Virginia, which you figure is a loss. But realistically, the way Pitt has been playing with Justin Champagnie, they could lose these 3 and then win every other game besides Virginia. Does that salvage things, or do they really have to get one of these 3 to stop the bleeding?
Well, they got NC State in there twice.
Right.
So assuming that's, here's, what's left. And who knows? I mean, they've got some games that need made up. Who knows if they'll actually get made up or not?
Sure.
We'll just deal with it. But they got NC State in there twice. They got Tech, they got Florida State, and they got at Virginia. And
they got Wake Forest again, who they already lost to.
Right. That one's at least at home. But, could they lose the next 3 games and then win? Let's see. They got the next 4 games really are, unless they reschedule a game for the weekend of the 13th, the next 4 games against ranked teams, actually, because it's Tech, Florida State, Louisville, NC State. Is NC State ranked?
Well, NC State's not ranked on what I'm reading.
Okay, but not ranked. Yeah. So, but and then NC State, Clemson, Virginia. I don't know. Yeah, no, if they're going to make the tournament, they got to win one of these 3 games, because if you lose 6 games in a row, the chances of you turning around and winning 6 of the last 7, I don't know. I'm not feeling it. And look, Virginia Tech is better than them, but I don't think they're unbeatable. I don't think Virginia Tech is so good that Pitt can't beat them. I think Pitt can beat every team they play except for maybe Virginia. I think Virginia's going to give them a hard time.
Yeah, it's going to be rough.
Other than Virginia, I think Pitt can beat every team in the ACC if they play the way they're capable of playing. And clearly, as they displayed tonight against one of the worst teams in the ACC, they're capable of not just losing, but getting killed by any team in the ACC if they do not play well. But to me, it's the upward trajectory of the program is what's at stake. An NCAA tournament berth is at stake, and they've got to get this late. If this is a 3rd straight late season collapse, look, I think Jeff Capel is an outstanding coach. I think he was the best possible hire for Pitt. I don't think they could possibly do better. But I think if they have a 3rd straight collapse at the end of a year, I think there will be some legitimate questions start to be raised. And I think that'll be fair if that's what happens.
And it could happen. Again, it's going to be tough here coming up. It'll get easier at the end of the season, but I think you put it very well when if Pitt loses 3 in a row and then even loses North Carolina State, so that would be 4 in a row and then actually 7 in a row overall here coming up. Just demoralizing wise, they're just not going to all of a sudden go 6 out of 7 or maybe even somehow shock the world against Virginia. That's just not going to probably happen. And even if it does, it's going to still raise the questions. Jeff Capel, to me, does seem to be the perfect guy for that job, and he wants the job and loves the job, barring what maybe would happen at Duke with Coach K. But again, those questions are definitely going to be raised if this would occur again, because I think this seemed to be the year that not only is Tony and company getting older and more mature, and they wanted to do it this year, Champagnie becoming an elite player this year, emerging as maybe the best player in the conference, one of the best in college basketball, and with what we know about Duke and North Carolina and even Notre Dame struggling this year despite all their talent more than really ever before, this was a year that was vulnerable to maybe have a chance for a deep ACC tournament run and really do well in this conference that normally is a conference that you can't get out of a certain level of ceiling. And it has just not been happening for Pitt recently after that statement win over Duke. Alan Saunders, Mike Asti here on the Pitt edition of Pittsburgh Postgame on Pittsburgh Sports Live. Pitt losers, and not just losers. They get embarrassed by Notre Dame. They just do 84-58. Alan, we can beat this game to death because it's a bad game, and I'm sure Jeff Capel's yelling at the team right now, but he's going to throw the tape out here soon. We've talked about games coming up. One thing that's happened for Pitt outside of not enough scoring around their star and expecting too much out of their star, especially when he does have a little bit of a down day, you do need more around him. But Xavier Johnson in particular, a veteran player that you expect more from, only 5 points in this game, but outside of just him not scoring enough, foul trouble yet again. This is a player that seemingly is in foul trouble every night I'm watching Pitt basketball and fouling out of these critical games before the game actually goes to all zeros. What can be done to get him under control? Is it just Capel pulling him aside and saying, we got to have you on the court rather than have you off the court? Is it a mental thing? Is he a hothead? What's going on? Because a player like this, a veteran player and a smart player, seemingly is individually unraveling, which is certainly hurting this team overall.
Well, one of the things is that he takes a lot of he gets called for a lot of offensive fouls,
Okay.
and I think that hurts him because he's aggressive in drives.
Right.
They want
Right.
him to be aggressive in drives, so like
You can't change that?
I don't know that you can change that. And he's sort of the guy that's got to set the tempo for them on defense. You know, I don't think you want to make him a passive defender as the on-ball defender. You know, I don't think that's a good idea either. I think what has to happen is the undisciplined fouls got to go. And you saw 3 of them in a row tonight because he takes a dumb foul. Well, 2, but he took a dumb foul because he missed a layup and he didn't get the rebound, and he took a dumb foul. And then he took a tech after he took the dumb foul, pushing and shoving. And like, that can't happen. It just can't. If you're the point guard and you're an upperclassman and you're one of the leaders of the team and you know it's important for you to be on the floor for your team to succeed, you can't take yourself out of the game in one play, and you certainly can't take yourself out of the game in one play doing, frankly, dumb shit. Like you just can't. You can't do that. It's inexcusable. And I don't know what Jeff Capel needs to say to Xavier Johnson to get that message across. I don't know what he needs to do. And I don't know why Femi Odukale, who is a freshman who has been generally fairly good as far as freshmen go, as Johnson's backup, didn't play much tonight. And so I don't know what the reason was for that. But it's not like they've got somebody else. Like, I mean, like I said, Femi's a freshman. He's not a guy that you want to play 40 minutes a night. And they're, Onye Etiekudu played. He's their walk-on third stringer. Like that's, like that. There's nobody else, and so it's got to be Xavier Johnson. He's got to do it better. And I don't know if that's fair, but that's the way it is,
to say the least. And again, there is a wire to walk when you want to be a physical defender and you want to be that veteran presence that clamps down for your team at the end of games and not fouling out, which certainly means you have to use your fouls very, very wisely and be well aware you're going to be getting fouls and you're going to be close to fouling out every night with how aggressive you are and how important you are, especially defensively, to Pitt. But you can't allow any dumb fouls to get in there because then you're going to be fouling out in games. And this one, several minutes went by without him, and he wasn't helpful even during the game. This obviously wouldn't have mattered. I mean, 84-58, I think he just wanted to hit the showers a little ahead of time. It wasn't like this personal game screwed this team, but it even happened against Duke, and they were able to win anyway. But you just don't want to lose him the last minute and a half of seemingly every game. Certainly won't come tournament time if they're there, even if it's just the ACC tournament. You want to have one of your veteran players there, and being a veteran, being a leader comes with being a smart player, and he's not really been playing smart. Alan, Pitt loses. It's embarrassing. It wasn't an eighth one. I wouldn't imagine expected. I know we were talking on the last show that this was a must-win game just to get off the snide and do it before that tough schedule coming up. As we get towards closing up shop here, any final thoughts to this game and anything you saw in this game that can really give you concern moving forward that maybe you did not expect? We knew the Stars needed to do more. We knew Champagnie can't carry the load by himself. We knew Xavier Johnson's been in foul trouble. But did anything else happen in this game that makes you just think, wow, I didn't know this was a weakness? Maybe defensively, Pitt has now seemingly had some problems defensively for several straight games that weren't really as much of a conversation prior.
No, this is really the first game I felt like they did not show fight, right? Like they lost to Louisville. They were down.
What does that make you think then, though? I mean, this was such an important game.
They came back and they were in that game at the very end. They played like crap against Wake Forest, and they still came back and they were in that game at the very end. They came back twice against North Carolina. Weren't able to really get there, but they kept coming back. They kept coming.
Right.
I can sit here and you got to win games, but I think the way you play, if you show that fight and that effort and that passion, and then you lose, you feel like you're closer to a win at the end of the day. Right. I think, right? Like, because that's showing, look, maybe all the shots didn't go, or maybe the other team had a really good game, or maybe it's a bad matchup, but the effort was there. the passion was there, the intensity was there. I did not feel like they had those ingredients tonight. So that means that you have to start from a different place, right? You have to start with, okay, well, it's not, well, we got to defend the three better, and it's not, we got to make our free throws. It's, we got to show up and try. Like if you're reiterating, we got to show up and try at this point in the season, probably a bad thing.
You hate to go there, but the hustle was not there. It did not appear they had their heart in this game. And everything you're saying is why we both pretty much closed the last post-game show by saying we thought they were going to win this game. Or certainly at least show up, because it was an important game. We both flirted with saying it was a must-win, even though you hate saying that. And we, again, can agree that North Carolina was just so talented. They kind of been underachieving this year that, okay, you can chalk that up. And Wake Forest, they're not a great team, but they won by 1 point, and they were red-hot shooting, and Pitt almost still beat them despite an off night. You can chalk that up too. So they had that drive and hustle and heart in those games despite those being losses. Not tonight, though. It looked like they didn't want to play this. It looked like they didn't want to leave their apartments because of the weather. It looked like they just did not want to play this. They forgot it was on the schedule, or they would like games to be postponed so they can have this break. I don't know. Maybe they need a break that happened at WVU a few weeks ago and get kind of 2 weeks off to rejuvenate themselves.
They had one of those already.
I guess so. Yeah. And it didn't work out for the Mountaineers today either, but
let's talk about good news, right? The Dukes won. They destroyed St. Joe's. Penn's come back and win.
That's right.
Like, it's not all like doom and
Pittsburgh
gloom and Steel Town, what I'm coming back to, right?
No, you're bringing, I would imagine, some better luck. We had a lot of news to get to here as we close up this pitch show over on the Steelers front with some not good news from the Steelers. But yeah, there's some other things to maybe look for a Pittsburgh sports fan. The Penguins getting tons of points despite not playing amazingly well, and you get Sidney Crosby, a game winner in overtime. Certainly nice for you to warm your heart up, but not great for a Pitt fan here. Pitt losing 84-58. Pitt now 8-5 on the year. They lose 3 straight to 3 non-ranked teams, even though maybe you can see those name brands and think they're quality teams. They really haven't been playing like that prior to playing Pitt. And Pitt just slapped around from tip-off in this game. So we'll see where they go from here. 3 tough games coming up against ranked opponents, and the schedule does not get much easier after that. Pitt again losing to Notre Dame 84-58. Alan Saunders over there finishing up that Senior Bowl coverage, coming back to Pittsburgh, hoping to bring some better luck for Pitt fans and the rest of the Pittsburgh sports world. But some of that's been sprinkled already through the Penguins and company. Make sure to hit us up all throughout the family of networks. Pittsburgh Sports Now, of course, for this game recap over there, as I believe Michael covered this one and everything else we have to conclude this game over there on PSN. Follow them on Twitter, Pittsburgh Sport PG8 Sports Now on Twitter, and us here at PG8 Sports Live on Twitter. Fall down here and hit that subscribe button as well. For Alan Saunders, for all of us at Pittsburgh Sports Now and Pittsburgh Sports Live, I'm Mike Asti, and this weather is frightful, and so is the way Pitt is playing right now, as we will see if that luck can turn to it being delightful yet again. But right now, Pitt has all kinds of problems that have nothing to do with the weather, as Pitt gets embarrassed by the Notre Dame Fighting Irish 84-58. A tough one coming up Wednesday, a tough one coming up after that, and after that as well. So we'll see where Pitt goes. They need to fix a lot and needs to get their head straight as well. Alan, definitely wish you safe travels there coming back to Pittsburgh and hoping to bring better luck for the Pittsburgh sports fan. That's it for this one. Again, make sure to check us out throughout the family networks here and on the channel, as we'll be back for more Pittsburgh Postgame on Pittsburgh Sports Live. All right, thanks.
Yep.